Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining the Let That Sink In podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Mathurin, and we are finally here with our esteemed guests. We have award-winning cast member Leon Jackman. We also have with us the femme fatale, the queen of Walthamstow. She is no other than Ash Phoebe. Guys, look, we are finally here. It is long awaited, long anticipated. It is the Let That Sink In podcast, guys. How are you doing today? How are you doing on this manic Monday?
Mate, I am so glad that we finally got this to work. I mean, if there was ever a bunch of people that were so not technically minded.
Talk about that, Jesus.
Well, we are 340-somethings, aren't we? Definitely 40-somethings. Me being the younger of the 40-somethings.
Yeah, I was just about to say the debate's out there about the youngest, but that's for another day.
But listen,
for another day.
you guys have teenage kids, right? So surely they must be on top of their, like, how old are your kids? How old's your kid, Leon?
So I have got Dylan 14 and so basically it's going to be 15 and 21 this year.
There you go. And what about you, Anthony?
Yeah, 20 and 13. Be 20
There
and
you
13.
go. You both have super young people around you who know about this stuff. Like, you guys should be better at this. What are you talking about?
Not to mention that I
Well, let
work
me
with
put it-
phones and technology and all that stuff as well.
Do you know?
Well, definitely something to consider is this is not PG. This is adult entertainment, okay?
This is
So
not
we cannot
family
have
entertainment,
the
darling.
minors dealing with that. You know, the under 16s dealing with that. We can't be having that, okay? We need to know what we put them into, what we get them involved in. That's what I definitely think. What about you, Ash?
This is rated 18. This It's going to be rated 18 because, it's going to be hard for me to censor myself. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Well, especially if I'm around you two.
I was about to say you two probably bring out the worst in me, so I would probably say it's probably about 18 as well, if I'm honest.
Some would say the best, Leon.
The best.
Some
Yeah,
would
you could say
the
that. You could say that. You could. No, but because all day, like, I'm so used to not being censored, because even when I deal with some of my customers at work, some of them know me. They understand. Yes, if I'm meeting you for the first time, there's stuff that I can't say, I wouldn't say, because you try and remain professional. But I think that's one of my key strengths, is that I just make people relaxed. And as soon as that happens, then we start just flowing. You know what I mean?
The fundamental question, Leon, is how relaxed are they? Are they horizontal?
No, it's just a quick on a side note. On a side note, Anthony, the other day, like, maybe it was too relaxed, because I'm someone who's quite touchy-feely, and I must have rested I squeezed this lady's shoulder.
I heard it here first.
Yeah, squeezed it, nothing, just a little squeeze. Yeah, do you know what I mean? And then the husband was like, "Don't touch my wife." I was like, "Oh, sorry." You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because you know what? I think when you work in a customer-facing kind of role and you're a personable person, you just don't think about it because it's innocent.
I just didn't think nothing of it. We was all smiling, happy. He's like, "Don't touch my wife." I was like, "Oh, calm down. Sorry, I know I'm a good-looking man. You probably worried about your wife."
He was probably intimidated by you,
Ash,
right?
I actually said that as a joke. I said that it was a joke, and then he's like, "No, I'm being serious. Do not touch my wife." I was like, "Oh, whoa, sorry. Listen, no disrespect." I didn't try and, do you see what I mean? But yeah, so that's how comfortable it gets in there, Anthony. That's how comfortable it gets.
Moving on swiftly, right?
To the point. So this is a section that we never planned for. This is the early confessionals. Maybe it will be a thing moving forward in these series. And audience, if you love it, let us know. Maybe we'll have the confessionals, okay? However, Leon has confessed that, but shout out to that husband, mark your territory. Mark it correctly. And I'm sure Leon will testify to that. These are the type of things that start creating catfights. But hey, that's a completely another story for another day.
Yeah,
Talking of young adults that you have, it's funny because that made me just think about, we're all kind of roughly the same age-ish. But we never grew up with phones, did we? Like, we never grew up with, I was in my 20s before I had a mobile phone, put it that way. That's how old I am.
Well, you said you never grew up with mobile phones. I mean, gosh, I don't know, Ash, I don't know what to tell you. But okay, I'll admit it. I'll confess. Yes, I was brought up in the era of phone boxes. You put your money in the phone box and it was a thing.
Right?
Yes, it
I
was a
grew
thing.
up in the
with the
era
phone
where we had
boxes.
a rotary telephone. a rotary telephone. But actually, so this brings us swiftly on to our first
What's going
talking
on?
point, actually, because I don't have kids. I have my opinion. We can always. Okay, it's not just me, right? Because it is him.
It is him.
Am I right?
He
Okay.
has now turned into I know his cat's name's Ninja, but now I understand why his cat is named Ninja, because he just disappeared into the middle of the night. I don't know what's happened, and he's just vanished without a trace, like a
I'm like, I
jet
think
black
is this
ninja.
like internet? What is happening?
You know what it was? It's the confessionals. It's the confessionals, Ash. Because basically, we confessed that the era we were growing up in. He knew what was coming for him, and he didn't want to say, "Listen, when I grew up, what is a phone box?"
Maybe he's gone to do 5 Hail Marys or something. You know what I
I'm
mean?
telling you, full of grace. But hopefully
We
he
are
will rejoin
reconnecting.
us. Slight transmission, and this just goes to prove the point. This is what I really love. You can't make this up. So, should I fill you in like Craig David, or should I leave you? Or should I leave you in the dark? Or should I leave you in the dark?
Fill me in, or I'll be walking away.
Your life, okay.
All the
I thought you
troubles
were
in my
walking
life,
away.
man. Oh
You
my
absolutely
God.
disappeared. You instantly just disappeared. That's it.
I think it was the guy. It was the guy. It was the woman's husband. He was at my door.
Wow, you see, he sent the heavies round. Listen, he's not messing about.
Guys, I think it's really interesting that happened because I think, say if I went into a shop with my boyfriend or my husband and a woman was like that. Now, to me, I think it's all about intention. And I think usually intentions are very, very clear. I think you can get that from people's energy. Do you know what I mean? Like, some people are like super friendly and yeah, I don't understand why people need to make it sexual. That's their own insecurities at the end of the day. I don't know.
Yeah, but again, you have to be careful, because I'm a bit like Leon, definitely. As somebody who's personable, who's charismatic, I generally tend to be a little touchy-feely, just a little, without even realizing it. Because naturally you're talking and
Same.
you just, it's just part of the expression. So, but you do have to become aware that sometimes you might do that and you see somebody flinch, and then you realize, I get it, I do understand. And you adapt
Yeah.
accordingly. But it's definitely
Yeah.
is a thing. But we'll just say for the 2026 guys, do not touch anybody's wife. It may lead to these circumstances that we're seeing here right now. Heavies at your door.
At my
You
door.
don't want heavies at your door. That's for certain.
No. Don't be like me. Yeah. Use me as an example for your life. Yeah. Don't be like me.
But listen, so I was just saying about when we were growing up, we didn't have mobile phones.
Mhm.
I mean, the first time, I'll be honest, actually, the first time I used a mobile phone, and it was a Nokia, and it was for work, and it was in 1999, 2000, and I was living in Dublin. But that was the only time I had one. It was for a short period of time. And then after that, I didn't have a mobile phone until well into my mid-20s, right? Nowadays, most kids have mobile phones, right? I mean, no matter how old you are, I mean, I understand we're in the era of technology, but what I wanted to talk to you about, I don't know if you've been watching the news, but, Australia recently banned social media for under 16. There was a bill that went into Parliament where they were going to discuss this also to bring it into the UK. Now, listen, my opinion comes from somebody who doesn't have children. I do have nieces and nephews, so it's not like I don't have young people in my life. But also having grown up without social media, I think it's a really, really good thing. I don't think anybody under 16 needs social media. I think they need to be developed in social skills in person as opposed to social media. But I wanted to know from you two, because you're both parents of teens, I wanted to know what your thoughts were.
I'll let Anthony fire away first.
Naturally, you see the deflection. It's wonderful, guys. This is how you handle things. This is what made us great cast members. It's the deflection. You see how you pass the buck. Okay, well, for me, change is something that's inevitable. Yes, I grew up in an era where I didn't really have a mobile phone until I was maybe about the same age, maybe 20 or something like that, and things have really moved forward. So is it the technology that's so bad, or is it more about managing there and the guidance? It's like saying that you're having your kid run wild at the wheel of a superpower car, with no guidance. Of course, it's going to result in some horrendous accidents. The key to me is not necessarily the technology, but how it's monitored, how it's supervised for people under the age of 16, because it's a very, very, very dangerous thing.
But I would say though, I mean, you can do that, but social. I'm not saying don't let kids be online monitored, because obviously you should be doing that anyway, right? But I'm specifically talking about social media stuff like TikTok, stuff like Instagram, like the kind of things that they see, the kind of social pressures that brings, for both boys and girls. Do you know what I mean? What about
Yeah,
you,
no,
Leon?
100%. Because obviously, if you remember, we come from a time. Obviously, listen, we're not kids anymore in it, but we come from a time where that mobile phone was there, and it was there for the whole purpose of being contactable, not for the purpose that they are built now. Phones are
Mm.
everything. Phones work through their phones. Like I said, you can communicate all over the world through your phones. That social media aspect, that online gaming aspect, that there's so much different avenues that phone, what that brings and how that brings people together, right? So there's always pros and cons. But obviously we came from a time where obviously we built up our social skills based on interactions and human interactions and actually seeing people and doing stuff. A lot of that now is, I think, is geared too much towards there. And I know, Anthony, you mentioned obviously in terms of obviously, training, coaching, learnings that we can do for our children to help them understand, right? Because even at the time, I remember what you're talking about. There was like IT sessions as such where you go in there and you understand and you learn about. And I remember my first like sending my first message to someone like overseas and all that kind of stuff. Like we went through that. But now, like Ash said, you've got TikTok, and as much as you can monitor something, the stuff that gets seeped into the algorithms and stuff, you can't control it. So my youngest son obviously has autism, and he only has recently had a phone, right? But
Mhm.
then I remember, and this is like, so he's 14 now. So we're going back like 3 years ago, where some of his friends would already have social media aspects on their phones, on
Yeah.
their devices. And to me, that's wild. That's too much. That's too early. Like Ash
Mhm.
said, the pressures now, and it's not just girls or young girls, it is boys, in terms of feeling that you have to be keeping up with appearances, or you should be this way, you should be this weight, this
Mhm.
is what
Mhm.
you need to
This
be
is
when
right.
you're older. This is how you need to act. You're not cool if you don't have this. That pressure's too much.
Yeah.
And I
Mhm.
think that's because of, so they're right in Australia, they're right that they should probably implement that stuff here.
Just the things that they're exposed to then, because then there are other external dangers,
Hmm. Yeah.
predators online. I mean, this is a very prevalent thing that happens that puts children in danger. So if under 16-year-olds aren't allowed social media, do you see what I mean?
Well,
Like, so
hey,
that's the,
Bullying as
I
well,
think,
Ash. Sorry, just to add to that, bullying. There's bullying that happens online now. It's not just,
yeah,
yeah,
there's
like I
multi.
said, when we grow up, it's different.
I mean, as you guys have alluded to, the point that you've alluded to, which is that it is a gateway to the open world. And once there is a gateway to the open world, not everything is, shall we say, fluffy and cuddly. So for me, the guidelines are key. What are the guidelines? What are the parental controls? There's got to be controls, because you cannot have the kids being exposed to this, or those youngsters under 16 being exposed to this gateway, and there are just no restrictions, none whatsoever.
mm,
They've got carte blanche, and
mm,
that just doesn't work, and it just causes the collapse of society from that point of view. So it has to be
mm.
policed in a certain type of way. I do think that the way that the stance Australia's taken has been more on the radical side, because they're, to that side of the extremity. They've gone to, listen, let's just a blanket, let's just block it out completely. We'll blank it out completely. I do believe that since this is the way of the world, we're AI now, we're AI based, and, the technology is moving on. You can't hide it from somebody, but you can educate them, and you can put the necessary restrictions in place to help to try to educate people. This is my take on it.
You know what's interesting? I thought that both of you would disagree with me, to be quite honest. I was like, oh, no, honestly, I thought I'm gonna have a fight with these two tonight because. But also, though, I was seeing that Australia, since they've done this, they've seen an increase in better behavior. They've seen an increase in concentration. Because I think also then forget all the dangers and stuff. All kids are doing nowadays is they're on their phones constantly. Like social media is like a massive, massive part of that. So that's another thing, though, because again, like, listen, I would not want to be a kid right now in these days, like in these
Tough
times.
times.
No, thank you. I liked that we were able to go out and just play. And, we were
Be
told, like,
creative.
okay, you come in for dinner at 8 o'clock and then that's it. Like, do you know what I mean? That's just what you did. Do you know what I mean? So, but I feel like
Well,
we can't really do that nowadays.
absolutely.
Or
As you said,
is it because it's more dangerous, or is it because we're more fearful because, like, perhaps we're more clued on, or,
well, as a kid, I always
No.
knew, look, if anyone's offering me any sweets and, they had a van and they were trying to offer me any sweets, no, obviously you don't go. But I mean, when I went out, I didn't play in front of the yard. I went out, I disappeared for hours on end. I was having a clue where I was. I was,
Yeah.
You know what? Another thing, growing up in an ethnic household, right? We are told as children, like in society, do not talk to strangers, don't take sweets from strangers. But then when your mum's friends come around, okay, go say hello to uncle this or auntie that, but I don't know them. Why are you making me talk to a stranger for? 1 minute you're telling me not to talk to a stranger, and the next minute you're forcing me to talk to a stranger. It's like such a contradiction.
absolutely. And everybody's auntie and everybody's uncle, you have to call them auntie. You have to greet them. Sometimes
Yeah.
I'd be scared. Some of those aunties and uncles look a bit weird, and you're like, oh God, I've got to. Oh, really? But you got to do it, or else.
And to be fair, that is a weird concept that I don't know how much aunties and uncles and stuff, and I think that stemmed into a part of my life, because there's people that I will call my cousins and stuff now who are technically not my cousins, because you
Yeah,
just have
no,
that kind of
we have that in
family
our culture also.
feel
I
in it.
think
Do you
it's
see
a
what I mean?
cultural thing. I think it's like
Yeah,
definitely an ethnic cultural
yeah,
thing. Do you
yeah.
know what I mean?
And sorry, and also, as to the point as well, you made about Australia. Look how we dealt, and I know this is a side note for another day. Look how we dealt with COVID compared to how they dealt with COVID. Like,
Yeah.
even if we wanted to implement the same plans that Australia are doing, do you think that it would hit the same? Probably isn't, because they're not the
Yeah,
same.
that is
It's
definitely
not
a
the
different
same.
story
It's
in
another story for
itself.
another day, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely. But the long and short of it is, the social media, I don't think is a terrible thing. There's so many benefits. It's almost like technology. There's so many benefits. However, it definitely needs to be policed, because without that, you're letting the lunatics run the asylum, and we all know where that's going to end up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a weird one.
It starts from the individual, and then it
100%.
sort of, yes, begins to cascade outwards. Yeah. So guys, you wouldn't believe it. It was such an epic journey today, both to work and from work. This morning I
God.
left with ample time, because I'm somebody, I thought to myself, I hate being late. I absolutely hate it. And do you know what? I rushed like a madman. Yet still, when I got on the MC, roadblock, gridlock. That's what it was. And I couldn't get anywhere. And all I could see was the time just ebbing away. And you're sort of sitting there and I'm drumming. And I'm like, come on. Do you know, I actually made an effort. I didn't want to get done with the connotation. Those who know, I didn't want to get done with that. And I was like, come on. I just hate it. Why did I have to? What? And then I ended up being 5 minutes late. Just really annoying. I don't know if this happens to you guys, but really annoying.
You know what I'll say on that is that it's a weird one, because I'm someone who, I don't value my time more than anybody else's, right? Of course, you don't do that, and actually, even then, if I want to be honest, depending what the scenario is, you do value your time more than somebody else's. That's a fact. So you can't go through life and not value your time. But however, I'm someone, if I have an appointment, whereas I'm the totally yin and yang to my wife will. She's the kind of person who's going to be half an hour early. I'm being on time. So if I've got to start at 9, then I'm at 9. And then that's something I feel is at the detriment to myself. And I think a lot of people sometimes they don't have the intention of being late. They have the intention of being on time, not the intention of being early. So we need to get out the habit of saying, so you don't get me wrong, I hear what you're saying, Anne. I totally get that. Devil's advocate to that is, you know, sometimes there could be a madness on the road. We know the route. Just because the route says it's going to take me 45 minutes to get there doesn't mean it's going to take me 45 minutes to get there. So realistically, I should be leaving an hour to get there. I should be leaving an hour and 10 to get there. Now, I'm with you because I'm exactly the same. Because I'm getting there, but it's like, oh, M1. Now there's traffic. That's not my fault. Well, whose fault is it? It sounds like a you problem because you should have been there already.
Yeah, but listen, you're talking to somebody here who's not a driver. I've never been behind the wheel of a car in my entire life. I have no idea, right? So as drivers, do you not, like, is there special apps and stuff that you can go check to see what your traffic is like where you are?
Yeah, but that's like,
I don't.
You see,
Why are you laughing at me,
yes.
Leon? I don't know this stuff.
no, I'm just saying,
there are
like,
apps.
you know, there's
There are
apps.
apps like Waze. There's
apps.
an app like Waze.
Waze
good-
is nice.
Waze is a good app.
Waze is nice.
However,
Yeah.
However, see, the thing is, anything can happen at any time. When you checked it, it was completely viable.
fine.
It was, you know, easy breezy. As I step on it, the curse of the gods is bestowed upon me, and then all of a sudden now it happens now. Why now? You know, and those things you just really can't plan for. Some things you can't plan for. I do take on board Leon's point, which is you try your best the mentality, the mindset should be, look, I want to arrive there long before. So if I'm supposed to start at 1 o'clock, I'm looking to arrive there for 12:30. And a lot of the times,
are you talking specifically about work situations here?
No, that could be any
situation.
scenario. Yeah, so that it could that could sprinkle down into any scenario, but everyone's different. Sometimes you put a different layer of importance on things. So if you know your flight's at 2 o'clock and you know check-in's at 12, how often is somebody late for check-in? You're not. Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But work-wise, you might think, no, you're not meaning to be late for work, but work's almost like that could happen. Or let's say you went to go meet a friend for something, you still might not have the same importance as I do not want to miss my flight and miss out on money. Do you see what I mean? So I think people pick and choose when that becomes an important factor in their life. I really do.
But Anthony, I was going to say, I feel like you're that kind of person, though. You're always like, you're very regimented. Like, I feel like you like to do things a certain way. And I think being on time is one of those things for you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, thanks for the vote of support. Absolutely. You know, because on these professional moments, thanks for the vote of support. You know, she's not banishing me from the building. However, what is going on is that, as Leon said, you've got a situation where, for example, the airport, but I believe that's completely different because if you're going on holiday, there's nothing else that you need to do but just get to the airport. There isn't anything else. Whereas if it's maybe you're working there, especially somebody like myself who commutes to various locations, sometimes you're dealing with tight time frames. So I don't have all that time spare. What I have is an hour. That's what I have. And if things work out accordingly, I should get there maybe with 10 minutes to spare. But that's all I've got. There's no way to sort of eke out any more time. This is me finishing at one place. Say, for example, I finish at 12, I've got to get to the next place for 1. I have an hour time, journey time. That's it. So if anything happens in between that, there isn't much I can do because I'm running on a tight time schedule. Whereas the airport, I would like to believe that, like, Ash, when you go on holiday, you know, you're flying out to Mexico. Right now, you just got your dark shades on. You're like, listen, I just need to get there. I get on that plane and I'm chilling. Like, there's nothing else. So I don't mind getting there 2 hours early or 3 hours early. I don't
like being too early to the airport. I hate waiting around. It really annoys me. Like, I like to get there that when I arrive to the gate, people are going to start boarding soon. Do you know what I mean? I hate waiting around. But you know what? Do you not have friends? Like, I used to have friends. I don't keep these kind of people around me anymore, to be quite honest with you. But you're both laughing at me. But because you know what it is? I think, so say if you have plans with friends. Now, I think there's different scenarios, right? I think, say if you're having a house party or there's a bunch of you meeting in a pub and you're like, oh yeah, we're getting there around 7 or we're getting there at 7. I'm like, okay, like you're only staying in one place. Yeah, sure, I'll get there about 7:15, 7:30, whatever. I don't think that's a problem. But say if you're meeting one person and or you might be doing something or there's just you two and you're kind of left waiting. And this person is notoriously late every single time. Yet, like you were saying, Leon, they make it to the airplane on time, don't they? That to me, I just think is so rude. I refuse to have those kind of people in my life. I've just cut them out.
Oh, you're right. There is people who I mentioned before. Of course, we all have to value our own time. Do you see what I mean? Like I value my time. So if someone wants you here, like I value everything that I got to do. You can't make me do anything for no. Do you see what I mean? You'd like to give out, but still, my time's important. My time's precious. If you're telling me that I'm gonna miss out time spending with my son or time spending with my wife because of something else, that's my time, right? So I understand that concept. But some people, yes, it's a selfish thing where it's like, it doesn't matter that Ash is waiting for me. I'm still gonna do my hair, or actually, you know what? I got to pop in the thing first, or I should have been in the shower or the bath half an hour ago. But it don't matter if I get there a bit late, because some people actually have that mentality and that attitude where it doesn't matter about the person. Where Anthony was talking before is like there is scenarios that happen sometimes which that's made me a bit late. But then I always think, like, it's not, like, I'm not speaking from experience. I'm not speaking like I'm preaching. Like, I get told these things all the time from my partner, because she's like, out of 100 times, she's only going to be late once. And that's well out of her control.
Same.
Do you see what I mean? That's completely out of her control. She's always on time. Whereas I'm like, and it's not because I'm intentionally trying to.
No, but you do have to do your hair and makeup, right? So.
What I mean, there's a lot to do, man. There's a lot to do.
Well, there you go. There you go. And listen, I'm gonna side with those people who are always late as well, because do you know what? There's always a time and a place for everything, especially for being late. There's a time and place for it. There's a time where you want to be fashionably late because you want to make an entrance.
But listen, if it's somebody who's
you need to make an entrance, okay?
Notoriously,
if the party starts
every time. No. My answer is no.
Well, listen, I'm gonna stand 10 toes down with the people who that's the mentality, that's the method, the methodology. This is the method to the madness. I'm going to be fashionably late because I want to make an entrance. I don't want to be the person, for example, if Leon says to me, right, the party starts at 4:00, I'm going to arrive at 4:00. No, let everybody else.
It's different. That's a party. That's where you're going to have loads of people.
So
like, it's different.
My point is that there are times, it's almost like the theory of relativity, so to speak. There are moments when actually you want to be fashionably late. For example,
Ash, I'm going to let you into a little secret, everyone, yeah? One time I could have...
Yeah, Melvin O'Doom.
Good vibes in there. Energy was nice, like, we just like looking around and stuff. I see Anthony, he wasn't late. I don't know what time he's supposed to get there, but Anthony waited till the vibe was ready. And Anthony walked in, Anthony was there. So I know what he means. Sometimes you got to be fashionably late, you got to be ready. So people turn heads like, oh,
I've seen everybody else, but okay, you see, there's method to the madness. And I'm sure there are other scenarios where, for example, I'm a chess player. If I'm going into a chess tournament, even if I'm at the venue on time, I'm not getting to the board on time. Never. Why? No, because you want somebody to start thinking, oh, well, maybe my opponent's not going to turn up. So, yeah, let me relax now. And then all of a sudden,
that's clearly part of the game. That's your game.
Right. It's game time. So my point is that, it does have just like everything, it has its pros and its cons. Of course, there's certain times when it's going to be utterly annoying, and it will be a real bee in the bonnet. So guys, if Ash is taking any offers for dates this year, do not be late. Listen, you will lose brownie points, okay?
If you're going to be 5-10 minutes late, text me and tell me, because I will not wait longer than 15 minutes. I will up and I will leave. I'm not doing that anymore. That's wasting my time.
All right, next time I'm ever late for anywhere, I'm going to say, listen, time dilation was crazy, like I just couldn't. It was mad. Like,
you can't make
dilation.
Absolutely.
What can they say to me? What can somebody say to me? I was like, you know what, fair play.
If you kids are watching and you're like, okay, right, how can I always sound intelligent? Whenever you ask a question, whenever you are asked a question, you pause dramatically, you stroke your chin thoughtfully, and then you say, it depends. Because it always depends. It depends on the circumstances, situation. It always depends. Anytime you want to sound intelligent, you heard it here first on Let That Sink In podcast. It it depends. This is
Uncle
edutainment at its
Anthony to the
finest.
rescue.
Absolutely. Edutainment at its finest.
Edutainment.
Now, it's definitely post Christmas at the moment, and we're well into January, and obviously January is such a bleak time. You know, there's many things. There's the dreaded tax bills. There's the
Oh,
post Christmas bills. And on top of it, January sales. I mean, it just doesn't stop realistically. And it's one of those things, you know, Leon and Ash, that I've always wondered what your take is. You know, many times people go and get presents, and hey, sometimes we can't afford it. Sometimes people can't afford it, and they use credit cards and, you know, credit accounts and tools to pay for all these things. What do you think is the difference between using your debit card and your credit card? And more importantly, do you think it's one is better than the other? What's your general take on it when it comes to finances? Because sometimes finances is a taboo topic. You know, people don't always talk about it generally, you know,
yeah.
but yet still we all are in the same boat. We're all in the same position and we face the same thing. So let's have a talk about it. What do you think, Ash?
Yeah. I wish I'd learnt about this when I was younger. I feel like at the tender age of 47, I'm just like fully grasping it. Like, look, you need credit cards if you want to build a credit. It's like this is the horrible catch-22 situation we're in, because you need credit if you want to get a mortgage, if you want to get a loan, if you want to. However, I feel like we live in this super consumption society where everything is about we need to keep up with the Joneses, we need to have this, we need to have that, we need to have this, and consumption, consumption, consumption. And I think it's really, really, really dangerous. A lot of people get into a lot of shit. Like, loan sharks are laughing right now. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of people in a lot of trouble. I've started doing this thing where actually, and I've only recently started doing this myself, because you know what? When you're out and you're like, you have a credit card, sometimes it's better to, when you have purchases more than like £100, it's better to put it on your credit card, because you will be protected more if something goes wrong, if something bad happens. But I have realized if I'm buying stuff directly off my debit card, I'm less likely to buy stuff. That's the thing.
Interesting. Interesting take. What
I'm
about
going to
you,
be
Leon?
sensible.
I think obviously a credit card is very dependent on somebody's mentality and strength and how they work and how they operate. Because not everybody I know who has a credit card is in thousands, £100, whatever, of debt. Some people have it for the purpose that Ash just said. It's almost like just to build their credit. They buy, spend, buy, spend, buy, spend. Not big items, just little, just basically ticking the box to make sure that that is a usable thing to help them build their credit, right? There's some people, and if I use the example of like gambling, right? Like if I could put a fiver on the Grand National and win, yeah, I haven't got the urge to then gamble again. I'm happy with my
Mm,
winnings and I take it and I
mm,
cash out, yeah? Some people
Panel
have that
says,
nature where
mm.
some people have that some people have that nature where they have that buzz and it's like they want the next one, they want the next one, and the next one. So it's a bit, so that's why I use that example, because people sometimes they'd see it as the money is not real. So I'm just gonna just spend, 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 spend until it hits them like a ton of bricks and it's like, oh my God.
Because in a way, it's not real though, is it?
It's
You
like
know,
it's not
because you're
real.
not seeing it come out of your account.
I was having a quite a deep conversation with someone the other day about the concept of money and how it's weird. Like we are all striving for this thing that is just, it could just be made. Do you know how crazy that is? But anyway,
Do
it's
you
another
not think
subject.
it's funny in this country that we have this thing where we just don't want to talk about money, and it's so taboo, and it's
Well,
so
you're right.
like
We wasn't
it's
spoken
seen
about
as
at school.
rude. If somebody asks you how much you earn, and I'm like, oh, how much do you pay in rent? I'm like, dude, what business is it of yours? Fuck
Yeah.
off. Do you
You
know
know,
what I
it's
mean?
weird that you say that, because even like in mine, there is it's almost like an unwritten law. Like we don't talk. I know how much my colleagues get paid. Don't get me wrong, I don't pay them, but I know what my assistant manager's salary. I know obviously what my sales assistants, what they actually earn per hour and whatever, and their bonus. Like in terms of myself, they don't know my salary and they don't know how much bonus I get. And I think that's so weird. And I speak to other managers and it's like we never have the conversation. No one ever really, yeah, it's like an unwritten thing. So yeah, you're right. There's that kind of weird thing where people don't really speak about it. But I also think that stems from like the money management side of it wasn't done enough, obviously, when we was younger. I know when I was younger, I don't feel so. But kind of back to what Anthony was asking me, I just feel like if spending obviously spending the money that you have is obviously always going to be better because the money that you have, you know where you are, where you stand. Yeah. And depending obviously your finances, when you're just willy-nilly spending money on a credit card, this is where it kind of goes back to what I said before. If you're someone who's, you know exactly where you are, strong-minded, I'm not just impulsive doing things, you could quickly spiral and find yourself in thousands of pounds of debt and not understanding how you're going to pay that because you didn't have the means and the funds to pay for it anyway. So yeah, debit card is always gonna be better because you're spending what you have. But I like what you said, Ash, because it's the truth. I'm less likely because I'm very tight with my money. I'm tight with my money on myself, but not to other people's. Christmas,
This is
I
my
will do
problem.
things. Christmas, I'll do things which sometimes maybe I don't necessarily need to do, but I want to do them because I want to. That's just me. But myself, I'm so tight. I'll go through splurges. I'll buy nothing for myself. And then all of a sudden I just go on a little run where I'm like, oh, actually, it feels nice to treat yourself sometimes.
Yeah. What about you, Anthony? I feel like you're a sensible one.
Well, again, us being 40-somethings, I would say that our upbringing has shaped a lot of the way that we think. I mean, I was taught by my grandmother that you never hang your hat in a place that you're going to need a stick to try and reach it, you know? So basically, in other words, you know, take your time. And that's where the debit card would be really good because, look, if you haven't got it, you can't spend it. However, I always believe it's about education. It's about understanding how things work. Now, myself, I'm one of those people who's going to have to ask loads of questions. I'm a pest. I call up that credit card company and I start asking questions galore, non-stop. Like, so I say to them, so, right, if I spend some money right now, am I allowed to go and put it on the card right now? So, in other words, I look at it like this. Right, I've got £10. I'm going to spend it in the shop. I'm going to use my credit card to purchase this item. However, as soon as I get back in, because it's on the app, so I'm going to transfer the same £10 I would have used from the debit card to the credit card, and it's the same thing. Whereas advantages are that I get to build up.
And
this
can you do that? Should you do that? Doesn't that affect the credit though?
See, these were fundamental questions from that point of view. Now, I will not sit here and say that I know that it's going to affect it positively or negatively. But what I do know is, as the consumer, I'm in control. I'm controlling it. It's never going to get to this point where all of a sudden I'm like, cool, wow, I spent like £2,000. Oh my goodness, what am I supposed to do? Because I'm just spending. In my mind, the way I look at it is, it's not my money. That's why it's credit. It's not mine. I just have access to this thing, but it's not mine. So if I was going to spend some money anyway, I'm just using this credit card as a medium. And then I stay on top of it. And what I found happened to me personally was that the credit score just started going up because they were like, this guy, we ain't going to make no money off this guy. So they're like, all right, yeah, no, you need some more. You need some more. Okay, then you want some more. You know, it's like Busta Rhymes out here. Give me some more, you know?
Give me some more.
I'm telling you. And it just kept building, which is what I wanted it to do, which was to build up. So I really think it's all about the purpose of things. And it's just like any game that we play. You need to look at the rules of the gameplay. If you haven't looked at the rules of the gameplay, I feel you're doing yourself a disservice, you know, because you can pick up the phone, you can ask all sorts of questions, you can get real answers. And that's what I'm like. I'll pick up the phone and I'll be on there for half an hour and I'll ask all sorts of questions because I want to know what am I getting myself into. Because if it doesn't work for me, then I'm just going to stay a debit card. But if you think about society as a whole, everything's about debt management. I mean, Leon, you're an unfortunate Tottenham Hotspur supporter.
Oh.
Are you?
How dare you? No.
He's an Arsenal supporter.
No,
He's
both
no
of you are
Arsenal
wrong.
supporter.
He's from North London.
No,
I
might
know,
be
that's
from
why
North London.
I thought he's,
No,
I thought he's a
no,
Spurs,
no,
I thought he's a Spurs supporter.
No. Don't
So,
get me
okay,
wrong.
let's
I
clarify
have
this.
more. I'm a Man United fan. Yeah. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
If like I'm from Tottenham, And this is why I hate Arsenal. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Because, it's the worst fans ever. So I'm just gonna put that out there. But no, I'm a Man United fan. So that
Gooners
unfortunate
are
bit,
gonna come after you.
the unfortunate bit that you said is probably still deserved to belong to me anyway, because it's not, unfortunately, at the moment, it's not been great. But listen, if next week when we have this same conversation, Anthony's gonna have to apologise for that statement, because when United beat Arsenal, then
Well,
it's
you know what? Because I thought he was a long-suffering Spud supporter, right? But as you have the top goons out here, right? Okay, at the moment, the best team in the land at present as we speak. I may have to come back and choke on my words. However, we will see. But my actual point was that all of these clubs have to deal with debt management. The best business in the world, you have to deal with debt management.
Yeah.
It's something that you can't escape.
no.
Everybody deals with it. So once again, to me, the key is education, especially just getting more knowledge about how things work. Because there was a time, as I said, I would never have a credit card. Never. Because I believed you just don't do that. You just don't do it. If you haven't got the money for it, just don't do it. However, once you learn how something works and how to manage it accordingly, it can actually be very beneficial. The key is whether you have financial discipline. But how can you have financial discipline when you don't even understand the whole concept? So I believe it's all about the education. And from that point of view, from my personal experience, the credit card just offers more. It gives you a lot more.
Yeah.
As I
But
said,
do they teach
security is
this
love.
stuff in schools nowadays? Like, are your kids growing up learning this stuff at school?
Well, not at
It's not
school.
not at school, no.
They're getting my education. I'm all over
Yeah.
them with this, all over them,
Yeah.
because I never got that from my parents. I didn't really get that. Again, it was taboo. We didn't really speak about the real ins and outs. All I remember, my mum had a credit card and she took the scissors to it and she said this horrible thing and she sliced it up and like, never get those things.
I don't remember my parents ever having a credit card.
I remember my
Ever.
mum having one.
I had a customer the other day who, unfortunately, he declined on a mobile phone, right? And he was like, "Why have I declined?" I was like, I don't control your life, so I don't know your credit file. You can go on Experian, etc., right?" And then he showed me his bank statement. It was like, "But I couldn't afford it." I was like, so he showed me, like, I think I don't know. He showed me two different accounts. One had like 40, one had like 45 grand. So I was like, okay, cool. So you're obviously someone who you got a good job and what, blah, 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 that's fine. But he had never had any line of credit in his life.
Damn.
You see what I mean? So it's
Can
like
you
little things
imagine?
like that. Like, it's mad. And I thought to myself, and that just shows how, obviously, if you haven't got the right people around you or the education isn't there, that's fine, because it's just a blanket. He should be fine. He should be fine because he's got money, income, so you can see that's coming in. But then yet he couldn't even afford to not afford to get a phone, but he couldn't get a line of credit to get a phone because he hasn't got a credit file or credit history. You see
Yeah,
how
it's
crazy that is?
crazy. That is crazy.
Absolutely.
So,
As you said, 45 big ones. 45
yeah.
racks on either side. That's
No, so
over.
like I said, he had about eight. He showed me on two accounts. One was a business, whatever it was, I can't remember, but it was like 87 bags in there. I was
Exactly,
like,
nearly
"You
close
got
to
money."
6 figures, right? And yet still, he's been denied a line of credit for something that's most probably going to be what? How much per
It
month?
was
What, 20
the
grand?
phone. The phone was about £1,500. You see what I mean?
Yeah, no. I mean, so obviously the line of credit was it was a monthly contract, which would have been
Oh yeah,
equated to
monthly
something
contract.
like,
But in
30,
terms of like,
40.
so for example, but in terms of the way that will still work out, still like, yes, you're getting the airtime, you're getting the device, but the device is the main outlay of the credit that you're asking to borrow. You see what I
Yes,
mean? So when the phone's
yes,
worth £1,500, like I tell anyone, is if you come to see me, the more you pay towards something, the less you're asking to borrow, right? So it's
absolutely.
like with anything, like you're getting a car, whatever. If you're asking for a 45 grand car, if you can put 10 grand towards it, you're actually only asking for 35 grand. Anyway, blah, blah.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I think that's a very potent story because these type of things happen to many people. And sometimes it's simply because of, again, money being so taboo and people not having these open and frank discussions about what's happening to all of us and trying to get a better education. So we're just like, look, the best way I see to do is just avoid it completely. So I just stick with my debit card. I never take out a line of credit until I need something. Then I realize, well, hold on, you're not even on the system. Whereas you could do something quite simple by having a credit card that you use for your grocery shopping, argument's sake. You're going to spend the money anyway. All you now have to do is transfer it from one app to the other. That's it. It's just
Yeah.
like the credit as a because you were going to pay the money anyway. So what difference
Yeah.
does it make? It doesn't make any difference. All that happens
It's
now, that
interesting. And how old was this guy? Can I ask?
had to be older than 40 easily.
No, I don't think he was. I think he was older than 40, but I don't. Actually, I know what. Memory serves me right. He might have been about 30, 35, 30, 37.
Wow.
But the thing is as well, but the
Interesting.
thing is, but then also I say that to say this. There's people who, and I know it's along the same lines, but it's not, because obviously we're talking about the actual credit card, you're talking about spending, you're talking about whatever. People just need to look after their say their credit score, their credit person, that trail that is left behind you. You need to look after it as well. So, you know, like when some people default on something like, so I'm saying that because I don't know the guy's history. He's telling me his story. He's showing me his bank things. How do I know he's not defaulted on something in the past? Because if someone fails on their credit
Yeah.
check, no one tells me
Yeah.
why. I just have to inform the customer that they failed, right? So,
Yeah.
but then
Yeah.
I've seen customers who, like, let's start saying one of you lot come into me and you've been declined on the phone. If I tell you got to wait 3 months, you got to wait 3 months. There's no point you
Yeah.
trying again next week. And then
No,
now
because
that's
actually
all.
that goes against you.
Do you see what I'm saying? So some people just don't look after like, they just think that it's out of sight, out of mind. It's a bit like the credit cards. Sometimes people think, oh, it's not real. I'll come back to that one day. Do you see what I mean? And it's like, next thing you know, you're in this hole.
Again, most people being misinformed, because when
Yeah.
you summarize it, credit card simply is somebody saying, well, look, I've got this pile of money that I would borrow you. I would borrow it to you. Of course, you have to pay it back. But what's the risk for me when I give you that money? Therefore, you have a credit file. So let me look at this person's credit file. So what's the risk in order? I give you this money. How likely am I to get it back? So the higher your credit score, then the less risk there is involved for me, the better benefits you get, because you can get things at 0%, for these offers for a longer term as you manage your credit score. Now, something as simple as defaulting on your mobile phone bill can affect your credit score. There's so many simple things that people just understand. Look, this is how you play this game. And once you play this game and keep everything tight, you can then get the benefits of it. Because again, as you said, going on holiday, there's some credit cards that give you air miles. There's some credit cards, there's some wonderful benefits on it. As long as you understand how to manage this, you can enjoy the finer side of things. But ultimately, you need to understand, one, the rules of engagement, two, how the whole concept works, and three, have that strength of character to be mentally disciplined in order to not overspend or, find yourself snowballing and getting yourself into a lot of trouble, and especially not trying to do something based on that social pressure, almost linking back into some of the things that we discussed earlier, where you feel the need to want to uphold a particular lifestyle, or, there's a persona that you want, and you're going to get yourself into loads of debt for that. But there are many associations out there that can give you some wonderful information. I would suggest, if you do have a credit card, call them. Be a pest. Yes. Ask
Yeah.
questions. If you don't know, you don't know. How are you going to get to know?
Yeah.
Well, listen, ask the questions that matter, so that you really have a good feel and understanding, and you can be somebody where credit actually works for you. Because think about this. Credit simply means I give you access to this money, but it's all about what you do with this money. Imagine you just take the money and you spend it frivolously. Well, then you've got to pay it back and you've got nothing to show for it. But what happens if you get some money that appreciates, that actually you're able to do something with? Then it's almost like, well, I've used this money, done what I need to do, and then I've replaced it. It just depends. Again, like most things, what is your perspective and how would you choose to use it?
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and because it can be an investment and it could be paying it back in tenfold. So it's just about, I think the key what you said is just that it is about the money management, but also about having good people around you. And if you haven't got those people around you, don't be afraid to ask the relevant questions to help
No,
you
no.
get some
And you
support.
know what? Also, actually, what is really, really brilliant is Martin Lewis, the
Yeah, he's the money expert guy, isn't it?
money expert.
Yes.
He is brilliant. His website is brilliant. He has so much information. Like, he has his own show. He's always on other shows. Like, you can just Google him. You know what I mean? And you'll be able to find the information. And he has a really, really good way of explaining stuff as well. Like, he really lays it out in layman terms. Like,
Sometimes that's what
I
we
love
need.
it.
Yeah, sometimes
Yeah.
that's what we need.
Because I
Because
don't understand everything. Do you know what I mean?
if we
I
haven't had
don't.
these conversations, whether as a youngster or as an adult, we haven't had these conversations, how are you supposed to know? If you haven't learned
Of course not.
something, I never learned how to do a wheelie as a kid on a bike. Up to now, I still can't do a wheelie on a bike because I never learned this as a kid. It's as simple as
No,
that.
that's
You know,
true. That's
whatever
true.
you don't learn as a kid stays with you as an adult. It's quite simple.
Yeah.
So definitely
Yeah.
have those conversations, and hopefully this 2026 could be one where there's a what's it
Mentality
called?
shift in terms towards it as well.
Paradigm shift. That's the word I'm looking for. There could be a paradigm shift, and it's
Listen, I didn't even know that word, bro. I didn't know the word, bro.
yeah, paradigm shift. So, and can you imagine that then by listening to Let That Sink In podcast, you were able to get some education and also go further to some of the links, get more of a picture, and it's something that propels you forward. Because finances is one of the biggest things that affect people in life on so many levels. So let's have those conversations. Let it not be taboo no more. Have the conversations and let's propel ourselves forward.
Let's just quickly add on that. Just don't be embarrassed because a lot of the time, I think that is going almost like back to the social side of it. I think people embarrassed to need to ask for help, embarrassed to ask the questions that make them seem like they're not smart. See what I mean? If you don't, like I said, if you don't understand
But
it, you
if you don't know, then how can you learn? You need to learn to know.
Yeah,
You know
but
what
I
I
mean,
mean?
but what I'm saying, Ash, what I'm saying, so you might not know might not understand the T's and C's. You might not understand the legal jargon, but you
Yeah.
do understand that you're in the red. You do understand that you
Mm.
need help. Do you see
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Those are the obvious ones. I know when that says you owe this amount and how am I going to pay it back? You need to ask the
Yeah.
questions to try and see
Yeah.
how can you get out of that help and what you can do, because some people just bury themselves in the sand and it's like
Yeah.
it's not going to
Absolutely.
go away.
I
So
think we've all
don't be
been
afraid.
there. When I was in my late teens, do you know what I mean? Been
Mhm.
there. You
Yep.
learn the hard way. It's tough.
Absolutely.
And I think we're really lucky nowadays that there is so much help out there.
Guys, we can't leave without giving a little nod towards the fact that it is the grand final coming up of the show that we all met on. That's how we're
Yes.
here to give you Let That
Yeah.
Sink In.
Yeah.
Which direction are you
It would
going?
be a travesty. It would be a travesty if we didn't mention it.
Yeah, no,
Absolutely.
we all know it's like it's a part of something that we went through. We're one of the lucky few who can understand exactly what it feels like to be in that castle, in that game, meeting Claudia. So yeah, it's an amazing part of our lives, amazing part of our lives. But if I want to just say anything, I need the faithfuls to win, man, because I'm a faithful, and I'm always going to side with the faithfuls, isn't it? Even though I wanted to be a traitor, I'm always going to side.
And just like Leon, I wanted to be a traitor. However, there was somebody next to me, sat right next to me on my right shoulder, who was able to get that tap. Gosh, how I could wish I could turn back
I
the
think
hands of
Claudia's
time.
hands just slipped.
Gosh,
She meant to tap
yes,
you and it just slipped.
gosh, However, look, but
Obviously,
today,
come on, team traitors. Team
you know,
traitors!
today she's still here on my right side. Is she a traitor? Is she a faithful? Who knows? Oh, she's faithful to the traitors.
I'm a faithful to the traitors. Yeah.
Absolutely. She's a traitor for life. But hey, listen, shout
Yeah.
out to everybody. Hope you've enjoyed the time. We cannot wait to have you back with us so that we can enjoy your company and get ready to discuss some of the fabulous topics that we have in mind. If you have any ideas, then put them in the comment sections below. Absolutely.
in the comments, man.
Take them on board.
Put them in the comments. Yeah.
Put them in the
Absolutely.
comments. I had quite a few today
Slide
already,
into
just
those DMs.
randomly people telling me about car parks and people telling me about people driving, people telling me about spatial awareness. There's people care about a lot of things. So just give us some of the comments, man. Just drop them to us, man. We'll
Yeah.
explore them for you.
Nothing is too frivolous, is all I'm going to say.
And you heard it first. So slide into the DM section. Ash will be on hand to answer your queries. Indeed, she will. Guys, it's been a blast. We look forward to seeing you and enjoying your company shortly. Thank you for your time. The wonderful superstar that is Ash Bibi and the phone legend that is Mr. Leon Jackman. We'll see you soon on the next episode. Take care, guys.
If you have been affected by any of the topics we've discussed today and you'd like some further guidance, please check out the links in our caption.